Welcome to this explainer. Look, if you've recently been diagnosed with tinnitus, I really want to start by acknowledging something super important. The distress, the anxiety you're feeling right now, it is completely valid. Having this constant ringing, buzzing, or clicking in your ear can feel, well, incredibly isolating and just overwhelming. But listen, there is a tremendous amount of hope here. Today, we're going to explore the science of neuroplasticity. We'll look at how you can literally retrain your brain to tune out that noise, turning it from a blaring red alert alarm into harmless background sound. So let's dive right in.
Okay, so here's our roadmap for this explainer. We're going to look at the tinnitus anxiety cycle, jump into neuroplasticity and habituation, and then learn some physical vagus nerve ear releases. After that, we'll cover cognitive behavioral therapy tools, mindfulness strategies, and finally, put it all together into a daily habituation routine. Let's get to it.
All right, Section 1, the tinnitus anxiety cycle. We definitely need to understand the mechanics of what's happening in your head before we can fix it.
This is the absolute core question newly diagnosed folks always ask. Why does a sound cause so much stress? I mean, it's just a noise, right? Well, structurally, the parts of your brain that process sound are directly wired to the areas that handle emotional regulation and threat detection. So when stress activates those emotional centers, your brain actually interprets the sound not as neutral audio, but as a dangerous threat. And boom, that triggers a biological fight or flight response.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what happens next, the tinnitus reaction cycle. So first, you notice the sound. Second, because it's intrusive, you have this negative emotional response. Third, your brain logs that negative emotion and officially labels the sound as a threat. And finally, fourth, because your brain thinks there's a literal threat present, it constantly keeps looking for it, which amplifies your perception of the sound. It's this cycle that keeps you trapped. But, and here's the good news, because this is a learned biological response, it absolutely can be unlearned. Which brings us perfectly to Section 2, neuroplasticity and habituation goals. We are shifting from the problem to the solution here. So, habituation is our ultimate goal. It's basically a form of neuroplasticity where your brain actually learns to ignore a persistent stimulus. Think about how you eventually stop noticing the hum of a refrigerator or, the traffic outside your window. The sound is still physically there, right? But your brain has basically filed it away as unimportant. You've just stopped treating it as a signal worth reacting to.
Now, what's really fascinating is the distinction between the two phases of recovery. First up is habituation of reaction. This means you might still hear the tinnitus, but you aren't bothered, anxious, or distressed by it anymore. You lose that awful fight or flight feeling. And once you achieve that, habituation of perception naturally follows. This is when you actually stop noticing the sound as often. Sometimes you might rarely hear it at all, even in completely quiet settings.
So how do we actually get there? Let's move to Section 3, vagus nerve ear releases. This is our physical bottom-up toolkit. It's a body-first approach to immediately break that stress response. To understand why this works, we got to look at our anatomy. The auricular branch of the vagus nerve actually runs right through the external ear and connects straight into your brainstem. So when you gently stimulate certain spots on your ear, you're sending calming signals, afferent information, from your periphery directly to your brain's nervous system. It literally forces your body out of fight or flight and into a rest and digest state. And this paves the way for that neuroplasticity we want. Okay, let's walk through these 4 physical releases to help you manage your daily stress levels. First off, pull your ears slightly outward at the middle and top, just to see which side feels tighter. You're going to start on the tightest side. Step 1, the internal ridge circle. Slide your finger just under the ridge inside the ear. Press gently backward and make slow, small circles. Step 2, the inner press. Move a bit deeper toward the eardrum. Gently press backward and circle again. Step 3, a myofascial stretch. Place your finger on the skin right behind the ear and gently pull the tissue upward towards your head, and just hold it there. Finally, Step 4, the earlobe pull. Gently pull your earlobe down and back on a diagonal towards your shoulder. You'll want to spend about a minute on each technique per side. Now, the real beauty of this is that it provides totally discrete stress relief. Instead of white-knuckling your way through a spike in tinnitus anxiety, you can use these techniques anywhere. You can do them in your car, sitting at your desk at work, riding the train. Nobody needs to know what you're doing, but you are actively soothing your nervous system and managing those little micro-triggers throughout your day. Now that we have some solid body-first tools, let's look at the mind-first tools. In Section 4, Cognitive Behavioral Therapy Tools, or CBT for short.
I absolutely love this quote from Dr. Bruce Hubbard. He's a board-certified psychologist who actually has tinnitus himself. He notes that it isn't the volume or the pitch of the ringing that dictates your suffering, it is how you respond to it. Resisting, avoiding, and constantly trying to control the sound, that just promotes distress. Changing your beliefs and expectations, on the other hand, is the very backbone of CBT. One of the most effective evidence-based behavioral strategies in CBT is the stop technique. It goes like this. When you feel a wave of panic about your tinnitus, you stop. Then you take a breath, maybe even using one of those vagus nerve ear releases we just learned. Next, you observe your negative thoughts objectively, then pull back to gain a more balanced perspective, just reminding yourself that this is a harmless sound. And finally, you practice choosing a more helpful, calm response. It's all about breaking that catastrophic thinking in real time. Moving right along to Section 5, Mindfulness and Acceptance Strategies. If CBT is about changing your thoughts, mindfulness is really about acceptance. Now, this sounds entirely counterintuitive, but it's vital. Mindfulness involves actually paying attention to the present moment, which, yes, includes your tinnitus, but doing so without any negative emotional filters. I know, conventional advice says never listen to your tinnitus, but running from it just makes your brain think it's a scary monster. By hearing the sound objectively in an emotionally neutral way, your alarm brain learns it isn't actually dangerous, and that is when habituation can finally take root. You can cultivate this neutral awareness through a few specific practices. A body scan meditation promotes deep relaxation by moving your focus from the ringing to physical sensations across your body. Breathing exercises anchor your mind right in the present, and loving kindness meditation helps foster positive emotional states. These aren't just fluffy, feel-good concepts. They are evidence-based tools that literally decrease the impact and your awareness of tinnitus in daily life. Let's bring all of this together in Section 6, your daily habituation routine. Because neuroplasticity requires repetition, we really need to build consistent habits. Here is a super powerful daily schedule for you. Kick off your morning routine with a brief mindfulness meditation or a body scan. During the workday, practice those discrete vagus nerve ear releases whenever you feel those micro triggers of stress. Then, for your evening routine, really focus on good sleep hygiene to reduce any sleep disturbances. And throughout the entire day, use sound enrichment, like a fan or nature sounds, to reduce that stark contrast between the ringing and total silence. And hey, for the family members watching to support a loved one, this is your playbook too. You can support their recovery journey by encouraging this consistent routine and helping to maintain a calming, enriched sound environment at home. I want to leave you with this final, somewhat provocative thought. What would your life look like when the noise is just background? By committing to this physical therapy for the brain, combining those calming ear releases with CBT and mindfulness, you are actively unwiring the anxiety cycle. It definitely takes patience, and it takes courage, but habituation is absolutely within your reach. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and here's to getting your life back.